of another of these Sharia supremacists, a man who is a convert to Islam, a convert, in fact, to the Shia strain of Islam that has a sort of death cult quality to it, Twelverism, as it's called. Despite the fact that he's not only all of that, but a communist to boot. And the President of the United States had properly castigated him in the race to become the next mayor of New York City. Having won that race, the president actually met with him at the White House last week, and you'd hardly know that that not only had the president called him out for what he is, but Zoran Mamdani had described the president as a fascist and a dictator and the like. Something he's actually said again subsequent to the meeting. And yet he got a very hearty welcome and a promise from the president to try to help him succeed. What do you make of all this, sir? And what should the rest of us make of it?
Yeah, the president, I think, is likely well-intended, trying to, in many ways, help New Yorkers withstand the socialist onslaught, the Islamist onslaught that's going to happen with the mayor, and try to buffet some of that. But at the end of the day, the Islamists are simply dissimulators. They will lie in every meeting in order to appease whoever's in front of them, and then go on to do what they do with their closest constituents, which are the Islamists and the red-green axis. So I wouldn't trust anything Mamdani would say at the press conference or at the meeting that he had with the president. And actually, I was a bit saddened to see him platformed this way, because there's no really contrary narrative right now for Muslims. One of the reasons I'm running is I believe we need to flip the script. The DEI years, if you look recently, just this weekend, H. Rap Brown, who then converted to Islam, was part of the red-green axis back in the 60s and 70s when he was killing cops and radicalizing Muslims, along with Malcolm X and Farrakhan and Muhammad Ali and other icons. And now we've come 30, 40 years later with BLM, etc. That red-green axis is more potent than ever. And Mamdani, as part of the immigrant part of that axis of the Islamists that have come to destroy America from abroad, be it from Congo, Iran, India, wherever it might be, they despise the West, and they're trying to use Qatari money, Turkish money, and others to destroy us in a common enemy process that with the Chinese and others. And we have to expose that, and we want to flip the script so that we can say, you know what, this is a very American battle. Our founding fathers fought against theocracy and created the greatest democracy in the world. Muslims are having this same battle, and President Trump said it, as you mentioned to me back in 2016, that this is a core battle against radical Islam, theocratic Islam, that we have Muslims that are on our side in our reform movement, and the Mamdanis of the world are the enemy, if you will, of that from that ideology that we need to defeat. And I hope he has, for every one press conference he does with Mamdani, he has 10 with our Clarity Coalition and Muslim reformers to begin to flip that narrative, if you will, and make it about diversity of ideas, not diversity of skin color and other apologetics.
Well, I do too, Zuhdi, and I want to thank you for bringing back up this idea of a very important speech that the president made when he was actually the Republican nominee for president in his first campaign in 2016, in August 15th of that year, to be precise. He went to Youngstown, Ohio, to deliver a profound denunciation of what Hillary Clinton was doing with the Muslim Brothers and others in the, what he called the radical Islamic, sort of ideological camp. And in addition to condemning the ideology of radical Islam, he said two things that I think warrant repeating in this moment, specifically about Mamdani. He pledged to, quote, screen out any immigrants who have hostile attitudes towards our country or its principles, or who believe that Sharia law should supplant American law, unquote. He also said that he would take it to the, quote, support networks for radical Islam in this country, which will be stripped out and removed one by one, unquote. So I guess I ask you, Zuhdi Jasser, in New York City, for example, is that likely that we'll see people who espouse Sharia being discouraged from coming to the city, taking up roles in networks there of the Muslim Brotherhood, or is it likely that we'll see more of that? In fact, they'll be kind of given a sanctuary in which to operate. And one other thing, you said that you wouldn't trust anything he says. How about the loyalty oath that he's supposed to take upon taking office? You've sworn that oath many times, I know, in the course of your career. If he does take it, whether it's on a Quran or something else, is it likely that he will adhere to that oath in your estimation, sir?
Well, as we learned in the Cold War, we can vet immigrants for whether they're part of the Communist Party or part of ideologies that threaten us. And it's, we put them on record. They could lie, but we put them on record. And then ultimately, as I've tried so many times in the House and the Senate to tell them, listen, we need to vet folks that get clearances and so many, whether it's police, Pentagon officials, service members, all of them should be vetted for these ideologies. And that vetting is not only their loyalty oaths, which they absolutely have to take as citizens, but it's also, what have they said to be on our side in this war, for liberty, for separation of mosque and state, for our Constitution? Have they countered Sharia? And Mamdani hasn't done any of that. He stood next to misogynists. He stood next to anti-American theocrats and has apologized. These are organizations that he works with are part and parcel of Qatar, Turkey, etc., and they hate America and they hate Israel.
And they're seeking to destroy us from within.
Yep.
Zuhdi Jasser, thank you for standing against all of that. Come back to us with updates on it, if you would. God bless you, my friend. Thanks to all of you for joining us this time. I hope you'll do so next time. Until then, go forth and multiply.
Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with your Real America's Voice, Real Minute. At Camp Owigaway, a Christian summer camp filled with adventure and camaraderie, kids come together for experiences that challenge and inspire them. Between canoe races, campfires, and heartfelt conversations, they form deep friendships and uncover new layers of their faith and identity. Each day at camp offers opportunities for personal growth, connection, and unforgettable memories.
Come on, pick it up. Let's go. I can't be the only one pumped to go read a Bible in the middle of the woods for a week.
If you need a hand with packing, we're here to help.
Thank God.
A troubled teenager takes a leap of faith to attend Camp Owigaway in this series directed by Alan Powell, and a cast that stars Antonio Cipriano, David Koechner, Lee Ellen Baker, and Carlos Penavega. It has music from the same producers who created High School Musical and Camp Rock.
3, 2, 1,
Why am I here? It's the question we're all asking ourselves.
This action-packed fun series will have you asking, why am I here? And what is my purpose? The series streams exclusively on Angel Studios platform, so the best way to see this new series is by joining the Angel Guild, a community of over 1 million members that have a vested voice in what series and films get greenlit by Angel. This means that Owigaway was voted on by members of the Guild to move forward. So becoming a Guild member is like being a member of the Television Academy, and you'll get all the perks from the comfort of your own home. So head on over to angel.com/RAV to join the Guild and watch Owigaway today.
Welcome back to this Real America's Voice news break. I'm Terrence Bates. Let's get a check of what real Americans are talking about leading up to Thursday's big Thanksgiving holiday. Rav's David Zier is at the Bethpage Embassy Diner there on Long Island, New York. David, good afternoon. I see you've got a guest with you. Happy Thanksgiving, even though it's a couple of days early.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving, Terrence. And we're at the iconic Bethpage Embassy Dining. Our diners are an institution here in New York area and Long Island especially. And we're in Bethpage where Grumman was, and they helped win World War II with their F-6F Hellcat and their TBF Avenger, the Cold War with the F-14 Tomcat and the E-2. Very rich history here. Hardworking people in Long Island. Somebody I know, Mike Walsh, he's a realtor here. He's also a horse owner, and you race horses, right?
Yes.
Great to see you. Happy Thanksgiving.
You too. Great to see you. Thanks for talking to me.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk to you because I heard that you're a conservative and your wife's a liberal. How's the Thanksgiving dinner table going?
Well, there's fighting before appetizers, and then there's more arguing after the meal, and we barely make it to dessert together.
And then everybody gives a hug when they leave, though, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I have an uncle who lived in a tree in California for a couple of years, very, very liberal. And another one who was very liberal who became a conservative. Has anybody coming around?
I was never into the politics until Trump won his first go-around, and I saw how nasty the media treated him.
Yeah, so in 2016?
2016, I watched the news conference that he did, and the anchor came back and summarized everything that Trump didn't say. So from that point on...
And so you're a realtor. I'm a commercial broker, right? 37 years. We saw better times in 2017, 2018 than pre-COVID, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, when he got into office, that was our best year ever at the time, and it's been wonderful since.
Yeah, so, okay, second term, big issue, home ownership. You've got kids in their 20s and 30s. How is the market for first-time home buyers in Long Island, or is there even one?
You have to have good jobs, good W-2s, good credit, and it's there. We don't have a lot of inventory right now, so...
So nobody wants to get rid of a house they have a 3% mortgage on, right? Because they're locked in forever now.
Right. Nobody wants to sell their home now and get another deal at 6 or 7%. Doesn't make sense. So they just add on their own houses, so we don't have a lot of inventory.
Okay, Terrence, we're right outside of New York City here. The border's only about 8 miles away to Queens, and we're expecting maybe a Mamdani migration out of New York City to Florida and other states. But even Long Island, have you seen any activity yet?
We're bracing for to be busy here, but the other states south of us, they're going to be very busy. People are going to make probably a mass exodus. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but it doesn't look promising for the city folks.
Yeah, and how are your kids' views on everything? Are they saddled with student loan debt? What kind of things are they dealing with? And then I want to ask you, what are you grateful for on Thanksgiving?
Well, I'm grateful for Gus at the Embassy Diner.
Great place, a wonderful place. The atmosphere is unbelievable.
Yes. The kids are doing fine. One of them got a house right before the rates went crazy. But, everybody's healthy and happy. That's the main thing. And I'm grateful just to have my health right now.
Yeah, Terrence, wonderful, hardworking, middle-class people of Long Island. Make America great, and Real American Voices here.
Absolutely. Wish him a happy Thanksgiving from me, and we appreciate both of you guys. Great segment there. David Zier reporting for us, again, from the diner there on Long Island, New York. We definitely appreciate it. By the way, folks, in case you happen to miss it, just a little while ago, President Trump pardoned not just one, but 2 turkeys. That, of course, is one of the traditions that happens at the White House. In fact, let's see if we can't show you some video of that pardoning happening. You're looking at Gobble. That is one of the turkeys. The other turkey was called Wobble. Wobble was not on site, but Gobble was on site for this traditional pardoning. You can see the president laying it all out here as he pardoned the turkey, and he'll leave the White House later on this evening. He and the First Lady will head down to Mar-a-Lago, where they will be spending this holiday weekend. That's going to do it for us here on Real America's Voice and on this news break. We appreciate you being here.
Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with your Real America's Voice Real Minute. At Camp Owigaway, a Christian summer camp filled with adventure and camaraderie, kids come together for experiences that challenge and inspire them. Between canoe races, campfires, and heartfelt conversations, they form deep friendships and uncover new layers of their faith and identity. Each day at camp offers opportunities for personal growth, connection, and unforgettable memories.
Come on, pick it up. Let's go. I can't be the only one pumped to go read a Bible in the middle of the woods for a week.
If you need a hand with packing, we're here to help.
Thank God.
A troubled teenager takes a leap of faith to attend Camp Owigaway in this series directed by Alan Powell, and a cast that stars Antonio Cipriano, David Koechner, Lee Ellen Baker.
There's always something to make you look around and say, hey, you know what? I live in a pretty great country. President Trump is calm, on point, on his game. And unlike the last guy, he is competent and coherent. Come on, man. We're not bending the knee anymore. We're here to take a stand for God and country.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
Live from the campus of Hillsdale College in beautiful Hillsdale, Michigan, this is Scott Bertram sitting in for Steve on the Steve Gruber Show. It's Wednesday, November 26th of 2025. The day before Thanksgiving. Thanks for joining us. Here are three big things you need to know. One, the White House and President Trump denying a report that the president is considering removing FBI Director Kash Patel in the coming months. On Tuesday, MS Now, that's the former MSNBC, cited three people with knowledge of the situation, saying that Patel's top aides have been frustrated with headlines generated by him, and the top FBI official Andrew Bailey is being considered to replace him. Later, Caroline Leavitt said it's a fake story. Later, Donald Trump said he's not considering it. Number two, a pair of turkeys are enjoying presidential pardons. President Trump signed the paperwork yesterday for Gobble and Waddle at the Rose Garden. Trump also took a shot at President Biden during the ceremonies. We're going to hear that in just a few minutes. Stick around. And number three, the Thanksgiving travel rush is on. The TSA expects to screen more than 18 million flyers between today and next Tuesday. Today, the busiest travel day, 52,000 flights scheduled nationwide. I'm sure these high winds we're experiencing outside won't harm that whatsoever. Officials say air traffic control staffing is back up to pre-shutdown levels, and flights right now largely on schedule. That's where we start this hour one of the Steve Gruber Show. Thanks so much for being alongside. Scott Bertram sitting in for Steve. Steve is back on Monday after a long holiday weekend. Always my pleasure and privilege to join you as Steve Gruber Show fill-in guest. I'm here at Hillsdale College, where I serve as the general manager of the award-winning student radio station WRFH, also a lecturer in journalism and director of the Hillsdale College Podcast Network. Find all of that at podcast.hillsdale.edu or wherever you find your audio. And frequent Steve Gruber Show fill-in guest over the years, going on near a decade's worth of fill-ins at this point. I'd have to go back in the email and find out when exactly that first time was. We can celebrate an anniversary sometime soon, perhaps. You also hear me hosting other shows like the Radio Free Hillsdale Hour. Find that on the Hillsdale College Podcast Network, the Hillsdale College K-12 Classical Education Podcast. I host one called Political Beats with my co-host Jeff Blair. We talk with people in and around the world of politics about their favorite music. Yeah. Band, artist, and go deep into that catalog. It's a fun time. Also have hosted a show called Wasn't That Special, 50 Years of SNL, and more. Find all my stuff online, scottbertram.com, or on X. Follow me there, at Scott Bertram. Starting with Thanksgiving. It's on everybody's mind today, of course. We've got heavy news coming up, but tomorrow, the day we gather around the table with loved ones, family members, and turkey for most of us. Somewhere along the way, Italian sausage became a part of the Thanksgiving table at our house, even though there's no Italian blood in our family anywhere. I'm not complaining. I'm a big fan of Italian sausage myself, as is my son. But lots of people traveling all across the country, be it in the air or on the ground. Flights, as I mentioned, are going to be full, and air traffic control is staffed, but we've got weather moving across the country. I'm no meteorologist, but I do pay attention to the weather. We've got high winds, this low pressure system moving across the Midwest where we are here in Michigan. bringing 45, 50-mile-an-hour winds, perhaps gusts to 60 miles an hour. Going to make car travel not treacherous, but certainly somewhat dangerous. But that could affect air travel, too, getting off the ground at airports around the Midwest. And I hear people in the South laughing at us, right? You silly people living up north with the cold and the snow and the wind. Well, you know, if there are problems at O'Hare and elsewhere, it's going to have a domino effect at airports around the country. So do check flights. And then we've got snow, we've got wind, we've got a wintry mix coming in the next few days, and perhaps a bigger storm on Saturday into Sunday for parts of the Midwest. So do be careful as you travel. I want to come back to the travel topic in a moment, but first, I had teased this. President Trump yesterday giving his pardons to the official turkeys of the White House. Gobble and Waddle are their names, and now they're free. They're free to roam about the country. They're free to do what they want. They've been pardoned by the White House. The president giving the pardons yesterday, but also taking a shot at the Biden administration. And here's that. This is from yesterday, cut number 1.
In a few moments, I will grant a full, absolute, and unconditional presidential pardon to 2 handsome Thanksgiving turkeys. And this is their lucky day. This is a lucky day for them. But before going any further, I want to make an important announcement, because you remember last year, after a thorough and very rigorous investigation by Pam Bondi and all of the people at Department of Justice, the FBI, the CIA, the White House Counsel's Office, and the Department of Everything. We have a Department of Everything. You know what that is? I think that's called the White House. Into a terrible situation caused by a man named Sleepy Joe Biden. He used an auto pen last year for the turkey's pardon. So I have the official duty to determine, and I have determined, that last year's turkey pardons are totally invalid.
President Trump saying the auto pen made last year's turkey pardons invalid. Look, you can say a lot about the president, I suppose. One thing you can't say is that he's not a funny guy, because he is. He then went on to pardon last year's turkey. So they're okay, too. The pardon's invalid, but he made good on it from last year, so everyone's okay. On the topic of travel, very quickly, I saw this yesterday, and it just struck a chord with me. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy gave an interview to Fox Business yesterday, in which he called on Americans to stop wearing pajamas on planes. He said he had noticed a degradation in civility and launched what he called a civility campaign, both to encourage better dressing and to encourage patience and kindness during the holiday travel rush. Sean Duffy yesterday saying, you know, whether it's a pair of jeans and a decent shirt, I would encourage people to maybe dress a little bit better, which encourages us to maybe behave a little better. Let's try not to wear slippers and pajamas as we come to the airport. I think that's positive. And that he called on bringing civility back to enhance the travel experience for everybody. And this is not a new phenomenon. If you've been traveling via air the past really decade, at least, you've seen people dressing as they've just woken up from a nap, not even a nap, from an overnight sleep, and got themselves to the airport. And I would be lying if I said it didn't bother me. And there's no real rational reason why. It doesn't affect me in any way. You know, the libertarian streak says people can dress how they like. Makes no difference. They can show up wearing whatever they want. And yet, there's something to getting dressed up for a flight, isn't there? Even when my kids fly, I have them dress up a little bit. Look nice, a little self-respect. And I think Sean Duffy has a point to civility. When we, it's the same idea behind wearing uniforms for school. Not that you have to wear a uniform to fly, but it gets you prepared for the day. It puts a little pep in your step, gives you self-confidence. And yeah, maybe Sean Duffy has a point. If we dress a little nicer, we will be nicer, kinder, more civil to others. Again, it bothers me. I can't necessarily say exactly why, but I'm on Team Duffy here. Get dressed up. Look nice when you travel, when you fly, okay?
Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with your Real America's Voice Real Minute. At Camp Owigaway, a Christian summer camp filled with adventure and camaraderie, kids come together for experiences that challenge and inspire them. Between canoe races, campfires, and heartfelt conversations, they form deep friendships and uncover new layers of their faith and identity. Each day at camp offers opportunities for personal growth, connection, and unforgettable memories.
Come on, pick it up. Let's go. I can't be the only one pumped to go read a Bible in the middle of the woods for a week.
If you need a hand with packing, we're here to help.
Thank God.
A troubled teenager takes a leap of faith to attend Camp Owigaway in this series directed by Alan Powell, and a cast that stars Antonio Cipriano, David Koechner, Lee Ellen Baker, and Carlos Penavega. It has music from the same producers who created High School Musical and Camp Rock.
3, 2, 1.
Why am I here? It's the question we're all asking ourselves.
This action-packed fun series will have you asking, why am I here? And what is my purpose? The series streams exclusively on Angel Studios' platform, so the best way to see this new series is by joining the Angel Guild, a community of over 1 million members that have a vested voice in what series and films get greenlit by Angel. This means that A Week Away was voted on by members of the Guild to move forward. So becoming a Guild member is like being a member of the Television Academy, and you'll get all the perks from the comfort of your own home. So head on over to angel.com/RAV to join the Guild and watch A Week Away today.
Patriots, it's time to gear up. Real America's Voice has an entire lineup of merch made just for you.
We got some RAV fans out here.
We watch you every day.
From mugs that start your morning strong to hoodies, hats, t-shirts, pants, vests, flags, and so much more.
Yeah, I noticed it. I mean, that caught my eye big time.
Every piece lets you wear your pride loud and clear. This isn't just merch, it's a movement. When you shop RAV, you're showing the world you're proud to be part of the Real America's Voice family.
God bless Real America's Voice.
So don't wait. Scan the QR code right now or visit realamericasvoice.launchcart.store to shop today.
Thank you, Real America's Voice, for doing true journalism.
Stand tall, be bold, be proud. Represent your voice with Real America's Voice.
It's good to have a real news network out there, so I'm a big fan.
Use code RAVSWAG10 for 10% off.
Real America's Voice rocks.
My name is Sandy Zeiss. RAV is the greatest for me because I live alone, and when I'm watching in the morning, have my coffee, I feel like I'm talking with family.
This is Giselle Chaffin. I'm from North Carolina. I'd like to let you know that RAV News is the best news. Number one news. Truth seekers seek to find the truth. It'll
Gruber Show, Scott Bertrand sitting in for Steve this Wednesday morning before Thanksgiving. Thanks for joining us. Find the show online, stevegruber.com or at Steve Gruber Show on X. You can find me there too, Scott Bertram, or at Scott Bertram on X, SCOTBERTRAM. All right, we talked a little travel, Thanksgiving, something a little heavier here. There's real news happening even in these days before Thanksgiving. And I don't know if it's as close as we've been, probably so, to some sort of truce, some sort of peace deal, at least temporarily, between Russia and Ukraine. These details are trickling out. Apparently, Steve Witkoff, the envoy, is traveling off to, I believe, to Russia in the coming days to try to hammer out this final agreement. It's said to be some, maybe a framework in place, some minor details to be figured out, although those minor details likely are major to one side, minor to the other side, perhaps, which makes a compromise more difficult. But again, we're probably as close as we have been in a while to some sort of truce, a peace agreement between the two sides. President Trump was asked about this last night on Air Force One. In fact, this is cut number 4.
Telling us the latest one with Russia and Ukraine. Are you expecting Zelensky to come visit you?
We're having good, I don't know, he would like to come, but I think we should get a deal done first. We're having good talks. We started with Russia. We're having some talks with Russia.
Ukraine is doing well. I think they're pretty happy about it. They'd like to see it end. And we won't know for a little while, but we're making progress.
Making progress is what the president says. The war has somewhat faded from the top headlines, but there's still vicious fighting on the front line and deaths, dozens, hundreds every day. There is still a problem to be solved, and President Trump wants to solve that problem. Victor Davis Hanson, great Victor Davis Hanson, was on with Laura Ingraham, I think 2 nights ago on Fox News, and was asked about President Trump's role in helping to perhaps get this peace process across the finish line, and what this looks like. And Victor Davis Hanson knows a lot about war. This is what he told Laura Ingraham, cut number 2.
And I think everybody knew what the parameters of a peace deal were, that Ukraine was never going to be in NATO, and they didn't have the military wherewithal to get back the Crimea and all of the Donbass. So the only questions were, where would the DMZ be, the demilitarized zone, and what kind of security guarantees would it have? And Europe is now much stronger because of the new NATO that Trump forced them to really to recalibrate. Almost all of them, except 4 or 5, make their 2% contributions of GDP. They've got Finland, Sweden, and they can give them a guarantee. We can offer some logistical support. But otherwise, Ukraine is running out of people, and Russia's running out of money. And so there is going to be a settlement. And the only question now is, how far west does Putin think he has to go before he goes back to the Kremlin and say, I lost 1.5 million dead Russians, wounded, missing, and this is what I got, and it's not very much. So I think that they're just going to squabble about where the ceasefire line is, but I think this time Trump is going to get a peace deal, and he's the only person who's talked about this war in humanitarian terms.
Victor Davis Hanson there with Laura Ingraham. Enormous credit, if this gets done, to President Trump, and of course on the Middle East peace deal as well between Israel and Hamas, getting that deal across the finish line, getting the hostages returned to Israel. These are all big foreign policy victories for the president. He's being talked about for a Nobel Peace Prize, and look, rightfully so, right? No doubt. I just talked with Scott Jennings about this. Scott Jennings from CNN has a new book out this week. In fact, was it last week? Recent. And I had the opportunity to interview him. And the topic came up about Trump being this, strangely almost, in year number 1 of term number 2, a foreign policy president. A guy who has fixed his eyes to the world stage and found ways to exert United States influence and United States power to help bring peace to various areas of the globe. And that is not to be dismissed lightly in any way, shape, or form. And it's been an extremely successful year, especially if this Russia-Ukraine peace deal gets across the finish line. And yet, I can't help that a pivot might be needed. And this is just amateur political pundit type advice. And I'm going to talk more about this later. James Carville, the Democratic strategist, had an op-ed over in the New York Times this week talking about Democrats needing to just go nuts. What do you say? A platform of pure economic rage. Talking about lack of housing and housing unaffordability and food prices and rising utility rates, which many of those caused by Democratic policies. But let's get past that topic, please, for the moment. This is what the Democrats think where they think they have an advantage. They see Mamdani's success in New York City, running on a platform of economic unaffordability for people in New York City. They think they can take that and spread it across the country, particularly in the midterms of 2026. Now, much can happen between now and November of 2026 of the midterms, but I think you've got to have an answer. You've got to have a counter. And I was thinking about this overnight. You guys realize Republicans have a trifecta, right? They have the White House. Republicans have the House with a very slim majority, yes, and the Senate. Now, Democrats were often quick to remind us about this during the shutdown, even though the filibuster exists and you needed 60 votes. But my point being, we're now nearly a year into Republicans having the House, the White House, and the Senate. And how many great accomplishments can you count? Can you think of? Maybe on one hand. Big beautiful bill? Yes. Extending those Trump tax cuts? Absolutely. What else has been happening? What's been the Republicans' governing philosophy? What have they been pushing toward? What are they working toward? What wins have they given the American public? These are questions that have to be answered as we get toward 2026 and the midterms approach. And this question of affordability and this question of economics, we're going to talk more about this in hour 2 on the program. There has to be a counter to the Democrats' idea of focusing everything on affordability, and a pivot might be in store early in the new year.
Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents
A Kennedy Curse. That is the theme of Angel Studios' newest documentary, RFK Legacy. It comes from acclaimed filmmaker Oliver Stone, director of the hit movie JFK, and his son Sean Stone, in a profile of the Kennedy legacy that you've never seen before.
I want to ask you about your father's assassination.
Anybody who reads that report will understand that Sirhan could not have killed my father.
It's a dirty story.
It explores the Kennedy legacy as told through the eyes of Bobby Kennedy Jr., who reflects upon his life and memories, his time on Cape Cod, his uncle's assassination, his own father's assassination, and his early interest in nature and the environment.
This time you have a drug addiction. How does that play out?
It's the Steve Gruber Show. Scott Bertram sitting in for Steve on this Wednesday morning. Nearly said Friday. It feels like it's a Friday. Many people, of course, getting tomorrow off, maybe Friday off as well, Black Friday. But no, it's Wednesday. It's Wednesday. Don't let people fool you about that. Thanks for joining us. Scott Bertram sitting in for Steve here on the Steve Gruber Show. He's back on Monday following the holiday weekend. This portion of the program brought to you by VNI. Looking for a smarter way to feel stronger, sharper, and more energized every day? Meet VNI, a nutrition company born from one man's refusal to settle for shortcuts. Founder Bill Downs spent decades in the raw ingredient business and got frustrated when he saw major companies watering down formulas and releasing supplements your body can't absorb. That's why VNI created its proprietary proteasome delivery technology. So the vitamins, minerals, and botanicals you take actually get in and work. Their mission is nutrition that gets in. From foundational health to energy to recovery, VNI is about helping you live sharper, longer, and stronger. Black Friday sale coming up with VNI. If you order from today, November 26th, through December 1st, you can get 30% off everything plus free U.S. shipping. Go to vni.life/Gruber to claim that deal. That's vni.life/Gruber to claim that deal. Let your body finally get all that nutrition you paid for. Check out VNI today at vni.life/Gruber. And that Black Friday sale starts today, goes through December 1st. Aidan Grogan's coming up next. He's talking about Mayor Mamdani in New York City, writing a piece recently, A Victory for Champagne Socialism. We'll talk about what to expect in New York City. And I want to ask about that issue of affordability. What does that mean? And is there a way to counter that message if it is a powerful message for the left as we move into 2026? Also, we'll learn more about home title lock coming up in the back half of this hour as well. Scott Bertram sitting in for Steve. This is the Wednesday pre-Thanksgiving edition of the Steve Gruber Show.
Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents
A A Kennedy Curse. That is the theme of Angel Studios' newest documentary, RFK Legacy. It comes from acclaimed filmmaker Oliver Stone, director of the hit movie JFK, and his son Sean Stone, in a profile of the Kennedy legacy that you've never seen before.
I want to ask you about your father's assassination.
Anybody who reads that report will understand that Sirhan could not have killed my father.
It's a dirty story.
It explores the Kennedy legacy as told through the eyes of Bobby Kennedy Jr., who reflects upon his life and memories, his time on Cape Cod, his uncle's assassination, his own father's assassination, and his early interest in nature and the environment.
This time you have a drug addiction. How does that play out?
I wanted to be working with nature.
He was appalled at what he saw. This is how he became the leading environmental lawyer in the United States.
There's no right to pollute. The polluter pays. My views are constantly misrepresented.
This compelling documentary profiles our current Secretary of Health and Human Services and dives deep into why Bobby Kennedy is who he is, why he cares so much about health in this country, and how his family legacy continues even after family members pass on far too soon.
I don't know if there's a curse. We do what we're supposed to do. The outcome's in God's hands.
To see RFK Legacy, go to angel.com/Rav, join the Angel Guild, and watch today.
I'm a J6er. I spent 1,143 days in prison.
I'm a J6er, and I spent 3 months in jail and about a year in prison.
I spent 4 years out of an 18-year sentence in prison.
J6ers have been smeared and defamed by the media, persecuted by the government, and treated like terrorists.
In reality, J6ers are patriotic men and women, mothers, fathers, sisters, and brothers from all walks of life.
Stand in the Gap was founded to stand in the gap for J6ers working to rebuild their lives after being incarcerated.
And we need your help.
For just $10 or more, you're helping these patriots get mental, physical, and spiritual help.
Please scan the QR code or go to j6support.com to donate $10 or more to support these American patriots.
Thank you for being a patriot. Thank you for standing in the gap.
My name is Kyle. I'm with Real America's Voice because we can chat with each other, the host, even management.
It's the Steve Gruber Show. Scott Bertram sitting in for Steve on this Wednesday morning. Thanks so much for being alongside. Happy to be here. Happy to be joined by Aidan Grogan. He's a PhD candidate at Liberty University, senior contributor over at Young Voices, and also a recent piece over at The American Spectator, Mayor Mamdani, a victory for Champagne socialism. Aidan, thanks so much for joining us here on the Steve Gruber Show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
You write in this piece that Mamdani's mayorship is a victory for Champagne socialism, but not for the working class of New York City. Look at the crosstabs, at least the exit polling for the New York City mayoral election, and it was true in the primary that Mamdani won as well. It wasn't the lowest class, it wasn't the poor that came up for Mamdani, it was this sort of upper middle professional class of in Brooklyn that really turned out for Mamdani. Why did they like his policies, and ostensibly the people who the policies are supposed to help vote against them?
Well, F.A. Hayek wrote that socialism has always and everywhere been has never and nowhere been at first a working class phenomenon. So it's the upper middle class, or even sometimes the rich elites, who are most attracted to socialist ideas and policies, and they're always the ones who are out there leading the revolution. It's not the true proletarians in the factories and mills and on the farms who are advocating for these types of policies. So this is really just a repeat of history. We saw this going all the way back to the days of Karl Marx, as well as in the Bolshevik Revolution, or in the various socialist or Marxist intellectual movements of the 1960s, like the Frankfurt School, for example.
Is Mamdani different because he unabashedly accepts the tag? You know, He won't go as far as to call himself a communist. He will essentially walk around that and admit it. But I am a democratic socialist, and this has been a trend in bigger cities. In Chicago, there are democratic socialists on the city council. In New York, that's true as well. The mayor of Chicago essentially is a democratic socialist. But Mamdani is so out front and bold about just saying, yes, this is exactly who I am, and this is exactly what you're going to get.
In 2021, he delivered a speech to the Democratic Socialists of America in which he said that the end goal is to seize the means of production. So that's not just democratic socialism, that is full-blown Marxism, that is communism. He's tempered his rhetoric as he ran for mayor, and he called himself a democratic socialist, which is much more politically correct, sounds much less totalitarian. But as the Zoomers come of age and as young people rise in age and vote more, we're seeing that there's this attraction to socialist policies because these are people that never grew up hearing about the Soviet Union or the prospect of world revolution destroying the American way of life. So to many young people, particularly those in their 20s, Gen Z, socialism sounds very avant-garde, very fresh. These are apparently new ideas to them that present an alternative to capitalism and the ostensible problems that it has caused, particularly cost of living issues.
Aidan Grogan with us here on the Steve Gruber Show. You can read his piece at The American Spectator. I've heard a few people say, what's the big deal? Mamdani is basically a younger, hipper Bill de Blasio. Very similar ideas. How would you contrast those two gentlemen? And are there safeguards in place to prevent Mamdani from going off the rails in New York City?
Well, it remains to be seen. Of course, he's going to push this freeze the rent policy very hard, and that was his most popular policy. He's trying to implement a very quick fix to the housing crisis via rent control. But the housing crisis is caused by a lack of supply. And if you prevent landlords from earning a profit through rent control, then they're not going to invest in newer properties and expand the housing supply, which is what is needed to bring down the cost.
This issue of affordability, Aidan, that Mamdani made a centerpiece of his campaign, Democrats have seen this and have, I think, grasped upon it to say, oh, this is the issue. This is an issue we can use as a wedge issue in 2026 with a party of affordability, whatever that means. So my question is this merely a New York City phenomenon? It is an expensive place to live, filled with transplants and people who are coming in for first jobs across the city. Do you think it is a message that works in New York City, or is it perhaps a message that Democrats can take across the country?
The left can certainly use this message across the country, particularly in states or cities with a cost of living crisis. But there's a much better alternative to rent control or greater government intervention or government attempts to solve these problems, particularly in regard to housing. If you want to bring down the cost, you have to increase the supply of available housing. And the fact is that we have a lot of restrictive or outdated zoning laws that prevent the construction of new housing. And for whatever merits there may be to some occasional NIMBYism, not in my backyard type of mentality, if everybody says that from coast to coast and pressures their local lawmakers to implement policies that create an artificial housing scarcity, then this problem just gets exponentially worse over time. So we do need a new housing boom. We need to build a lot more houses, which, by the way, will create construction jobs. But we're not going to get there by having all these tight restrictions and regulations on housing.
Aidan Grogan with us, a history PhD candidate at Liberty University, senior contributor with Young Voices. You can read his piece over at The American Spectator. Mayor Mamdani, a victory for Champagne socialism. We've got about 60 seconds left here. If you look into the future crystal ball, Mamdani's first 60 days, 90 days, what do you think he attacks first? What do you think he tries first in New York City?
Well, he's certainly going to try to open city-run grocery stores. That was another major push. And the issue with that proposal is it's going to require massive state subsidies, and it's going to boost demand beyond supply. So instead of cheaper groceries for struggling New York City residents, there could be empty shelves. So that's yet another policy that isn't likely to work out the way that Mamdani and his socialist supporters intend.
Aidan Grogan, you can read his piece at The American Spectator, Mayor Mamdani, a victory for Champagne socialism. Aidan, thanks so much for joining us here this morning on The Steve Gruber Show.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. This portion of The Steve Gruber Show brought to you by Longevity. Let me ask you, when's the last time you woke up feeling truly energized? That's exactly what Longevity Wellness is all about. Their nutritional shake mix is powered by protein, collagen, omega-3s, even bovine colostrum to support your gut, your joints, and your brain. No gimmicks, just clean, science-backed ingredients that can help you feel stronger every single day, even at the start of your day. Now, through Wednesday, you can get it for 35% off. Start your mornings with Longevity. Visit longevitywellness.co/Gruber. That's longevitywellness.co/Gruber. Use the promo code Gruber35, Gruber35, and save 35% off right now through Wednesday only at longevitywellness.co/Gruber. Scott Bertram sitting in for Steve, getting you set for Thanksgiving and your Thanksgiving travel plans. Watch out for the wind and the snow and the wintry mix here in the Midwest. More next of The Steve Gruber Show.
Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents
A Kennedy Curse. That is the theme of Angel Studios' newest documentary, RFK Legacy. It comes from acclaimed filmmaker Oliver Stone, director of the hit movie JFK, and his son Sean Stone, in a profile of the Kennedy legacy that you've never seen before.
I want to ask you about your father's assassination.
Anybody who reads that report will understand that Sirhan could not have killed my father.
It's a dirty story.
It explores the Kennedy legacy as told through the eyes of Bobby Kennedy Jr., who reflects upon his life and memories, his time on Cape Cod, his uncle's assassination, his own father's assassination, and his early interest in nature and the environment.
This time you have a drug addiction. How does that play out?
I wanted to be working with nature.
He was appalled at what he saw. This is how he became the leading environmental lawyer in the United States.
There's no right to pollute. The polluter pays. My views are constantly misrepresented.
This compelling documentary profiles our current Secretary of Health and Human Services and dives deep into why Bobby Kennedy is who he is, why he cares so much about health in this country, and how his family legacy continues even after family members pass on far too soon.
I don't know if there's a curse. We do what we're supposed to do. The outcome's in God's hands.
To see RFK Legacy, go to angel.com/Rav, join the Angel Guild, and watch today.
I'm a J6er. I spent 1,143 days in prison.
I'm a J6er, and I spent 3 months in jail and about a year in prison.
I spent 4 years out of an 18-year sentence in prison.
J6ers have been smeared and defamed by the media, persecuted by the government, and treated like terrorists.
In reality, J6ers are patriotic men and women, mothers, fathers, sisters, and brothers from all walks of life.
Stand in the Gap was founded to stand in the gap for J6ers working to rebuild their lives after being incarcerated.
And we need your help.
For just $10 or more, you're helping these patriots get mental, physical, and spiritual help.
Please scan the QR code or go to j6support.com to donate $10 or more to support these American patriots.
Thank you for being a patriot. Thank you for standing in the gap.
My name is Kyle. I'm with Real America's Voice because we can chat with each other, the host, even management.
Let me share this headline with you as we dive back into it. Real estate agent pleads guilty to deed theft in Rockland County, New York. Listen to this. Oscar Dias, a former Rockland County, New York real estate agent, pled guilty to forgery and violating the Home Equity Theft Protection Act, the only state that has that, by the way, because here's the real estate agent stealing the properties he's selling, apparently. But I need to get some details. Natalie Dominguez is the title theft education specialist for Home Title Lock, joining me now. Natalie, nice to see you again. Another one of these stories of somebody losing their house because they didn't protect themselves. But this one's a little different. The real estate agent, man, he knows all the real estate and which ones to target. He was in the sweet spot.
Absolutely. This is definitely not the first time we've seen this happen, where people that are in the industry are taking advantage of their knowledge and then doing this in the most covert of ways and taking advantage of their position.
So what he did in August of 21, Dias forged Monique Hill's signature on a deed, fraudulently transferred ownership of her home while it was in foreclosure. And, you know, as a real estate agent, you see the houses that are in foreclosure, which is on the open market, what you sold, all of these things. Man, he played it right to a T. Walk us through how this scam works and worked for him.
Yeah, absolutely. So for the most part, this can be done a couple different ways, but the most common way is criminals are using quitclaim deeds, which are traditionally used for transferring property between, you know, siblings, family members, things like that, where there isn't really an exchange of money or a large exchange of money. It's not a normal purchase. And what they're doing is they're going and filing these documents at county offices, where in the county office, all that's required in order to file this paperwork is a signature, a notary stamp, which you can get done by a real notary. We've seen it happen. It's been forged, they've been paid off, but you can get one of these online for like $20, right? So that's really all they need. And as long as it's filled out properly, the county is actually required to take it. So legally, they can't deny it, even if they're looking at someone that looks like, you know, John Adams, but the note says Susie Martinez, right? Like they can't say no as long as it's filled out properly. And then just like that, your ownership on record is now no longer in your name. It's in this criminal scammer's name or an LLC.
Exactly what he did here, by the way. He forged Dias the deed with the Rockland County Clerk's office to make the fraudulent transfer appear, and that's all he had to do was make it appear to look legitimate. And he used the false transfer to gain control of the property. And once somebody has control of a property, your property potentially, then what can happen?
The most common thing that we see is people going out and taking fraudulent loans out on the property, especially if it's being transferred into a shell LLC or just a fake name. You've had Matt Cox, a former criminal, on with you guys a few times. He said the most common thing he would do is put it in a fake person's name. He'd go and get 2-3 hard money loans out in a day and then disappear. And he's gone with thousands and thousands of dollars worth of your equity. And then you find out when you start getting foreclosure notices because they're sending it to the home, right? They're not sending it to your name. It's not under your name. They're sending it to the property owner, and now they're going to foreclose on your house. Another more common thing that we're seeing more and more now is them taking ownership of the property and then trying to just sell it for a quick buck online for, you know, 25% of what it's worth in a quick cash sale.
Yeah, it's funny you should mention that. I get phone calls regularly now, 2-3 times a week. Hey, this is so-and-so from who knows where, and we see you have a property here. Would you like to sell it? I get solicited by that every single day. And if I had a property that I just put my name on illegally, I said, hey, what do you think it's worth? And they oh, it's worth $25,000, probably a fraction of what it's actually worth. Sure, let's do it. Send me the check. Boom, let's make it happen. Because these groups are soliciting properties cheap. You've got the title in your name. Next thing you know, the homeowner is out, right? If you don't have protection, you're out. Now, New York, I'll give them credit, the only state that has such laws on the books, but still, this was a 5-year process in this one. 2021, they finally got resolution. Almost 2026, took almost 5 years, right?
Yep, it takes a very, very long time to get these things unwound, because what a lot of people don't realize is the burden is on the homeowner to prove the fraud, which is very I wouldn't say easy to do. It is easier to do when you know who did it. Let's say it was a rogue family member or something like that, and the burden is on you to prove they did this fraudulently. If someone just does this and disappears, and there's nothing to prove that this wasn't legitimate, or you can't find the person, it can take years to unwind. We've seen these cases go anywhere from months to multiple years. And something that you had mentioned before, where it's someone kind of in the industry and then also taking advantage of that and doing these quick sales. One of our restoration customers that is very open about working with us because he likes it so much it happened to his father in a vacant property. It was I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but a lawyer that had worked with them that took advantage of this elderly man's vacant property that he knew of, and he went all the way through. Nope, nothing surprises. And he did a quick sale online. We were there. We were able to jump in and get it unwound very quickly. Unfortunately, the older gentleman wasn't paying attention to his notifications from us as quickly as we would have hoped. But that's a big reason why we have, when you sign up with us, we allow you to have a second email notification on the property. So if you have an elderly parent, you can also be notified when these things go through so they don't slip through the cracks.
And tell the folks what your company does. What does Home Title Lock do to make sure this doesn't happen to somebody or to you personally?
For sure. So we are a monitoring and restoration company. So we call it our $1 million triple lock protection. The first two parts of that is 24/7 monitoring of your property title or your property records, your home title, and then urgent alerts if any changes are made. So this is not, hey, we think this is fishy or fraudulent, come take a look at this. It's anything that is filed, even if it's something that you do, we want to make sure you are getting everything. We don't distinguish what is suspicious or not. That way you get everything that comes through. But the third part of that, and in my opinion, the most important, this is the Home Title Lock difference, right? There might be other companies that say, hey, we'll monitor your property, and they do it as an add-on to Social Security monitoring or whatever it is. Home Title Lock difference is we will spend up to $1 million, and as long as it takes, as many legal experts as we need, whoever it is from our team, to restore your property and get all of this unwound.
And here's all you need to do.
By a big bank.
Go to HometitleLock.com, use the promo code Gruber, and you can make sure your title is still in your name today. You'll also get a free title history report plus a free 14-day trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. HometitleLock.com, promo code Gruber. Be protected. Don't let us make you one of these horror stories. Natalie, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Steve. Thanks for having me on with you guys.
HometitleLock.com, promo code Gruber. Do that now, and I'll be right back.
Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents
A Kennedy Curse. That is the theme of Angel Studios' newest documentary, RFK Legacy. It comes from acclaimed filmmaker Oliver Stone, director of the hit movie JFK, and his son Sean Stone, in a profile of the Kennedy legacy that you've never seen before.
I want to ask you about your father's assassination.
Anybody who reads that report will understand that Sirhan could not have killed my father.
It's a dirty story.
It explores the Kennedy legacy as told through the eyes of Bobby Kennedy Jr., who reflects upon his life and memories, his time on Cape Cod, his uncle's assassination, his own father's assassination, and his early interest in nature and the environment.
This time you have a drug addiction. How does that play out?
I wanted to be working with nature.
He was appalled at what he saw. This is how he became the leading environmental lawyer in the United States.
There's no right to pollute. The polluter pays. My views are constantly misrepresented.
This compelling documentary profiles our current Secretary of Health and Human Services and dives deep into why Bobby Kennedy is who he is, why he cares so much about health in this country, and how his family legacy continues even after family members pass on far too soon.
I don't know if there's a curse. We do what we're supposed to do. The outcome's in God's hands.
To see RFK Legacy, go to angel.com/Rav, join the Angel Guild, and watch today.
I'm a J6er. I spent 1,143 days in prison.
I'm a J6er, and I spent 3 months in jail and about a year in prison.
I spent 4 years out of an 18-year sentence in prison.
J6ers have been smeared and defamed by the media, persecuted by the government, and treated like terrorists.
In reality, J6ers are patriotic men and women, mothers, fathers, sisters, and brothers from all walks of life.
Stand in the Gap was founded to stand in the gap for J6ers working to rebuild their lives after being incarcerated.
And we need your help.
It's the Steve Gruber Show. Scott Bertram sitting in for Steve on this Wednesday morning. Steve returns on Monday after the holiday weekend. Thanks so much for joining us on this pre-Thanksgiving show. There's weather happening across the Midwest and across the country, of course, but here in the Midwest, high winds, snow, wintry mix. It's around that time of the year. What we don't have are hurricanes. And what we didn't have this year is a hurricane making U.S. landfall. Didn't happen. First time in 10 years. Newsbusters picked up on this, but something I monitor each year, I really do, is the beginning of the hurricane season. You have these predictions from forecasters and weather experts about we're going to have X number of hurricanes and Y will make U.S. landfall and Z will be major hurricanes, and this is our official prediction. And I set a scheduled X post for now, beginning of December, to say, how well do these predictions work out? And this year, not so well. A total of 13 tropical storms this year, 5 hurricanes in the Atlantic season, no U.S. landfall, according to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. So a whole bunch of nothing. And even with good news like that, you had the AP or Axios saying, welcome news for hurricane-prone states, but it doesn't mean future years will be equally calm. Even with good news, the warning always has to be included that next year will be worse. Next year, the horrible things we predict actually will come true. This portion of the Steve Gruber Show brought to you by The Wellness Company. They've had one big annual sale just in time to fulfill your New Year resolutions. If you're going to kickstart your weight loss goals or stock up on innovative blends that help you stay in optimal health, well, The Wellness Company has everything you need to keep you out of urgent care and feeling limitless as 2026 approaches. Black Friday deal runs through Thanksgiving Day through Sunday, November 30th. 25% off all supplements like Recharge and even peptide products like Smile. 20% off all emergency kits to stay fully prepped. 20% off one wellness memberships to help offset overpriced health insurance. All of that digitally ordered, delivered to your door. TWC.health/Gruber. Enjoy the amazing Black Friday savings. TWC.health/Gruber. It only goes 4 days, so take advantage now. TWC.health/Gruber. Scott Bertram in on the Steve Gruber Show.
Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom in